Hello and welcome, bookworms, and welcome to this week's episode of The Contented Narrative. We are looking at A Black Mouth by Ronald Malfi. So this was very reminiscent of the second half of It, I would probably say. So obviously in It, something happens to the kids at the beginning and then they all kind of get pulled back in as adults later on. And this kind of felt like that second part where like him and so the main guy, Jamie, him and his friends kind of get pulled back together due to weird coincidences to kind of confront something that happened in their childhood that, you know, that they were maybe running from and has definitely messed up their adulthood. And essentially, Jamie Warren comes back because his mum's died and his disabled brother has been found wandering the streets and he has to come back to look after him. His friend as well, she's come back because she sees a picture of someone that they knew from their childhood, but he's the same age as when they were in the childhood. And the other friend comes back because he's a social worker and he hears a story that's very reminiscent of what they came across as children. So they all end up sort of like back in this place called Black Mouth. And it's sort of like it's telling the two timelines at the same time. So what they were happening as children and how they're dealing with it as adults. And it was a very interesting tale and it was very, very interesting characters. And basically you've got like, as children, they made friends with this magician and that, you know, they wanted to impress him and it was like childhood friendly, all of that, loving life, whatever. And then they realize that something's not right. And then, but as adults, you've got them dealing with sort of like their different sort of like ailments, like, you know, like alcoholism, and stuff like that. And it's like, they're then trying to beat the demons of the past, but they don't realize that they are actually going against the same guy of the past. And it's sort of like, it's brought them back to sort of finish what they started. And this is why when I was reading it, I was very much like, oh, I wonder if he got, you know, like some inspiration from Stephen King's book. But I wouldn't say it's a direct rip-off. So please don't misunderstand me. It's a very interesting take and I'm very loving it. It was just very sort of like, it was reminiscent. You know, when you're watching something, you're like, oh, that reminds me of something. You know, that's just how my brain works. So that's kind of what I was thinking. But I mean, the fact that like, I will admit at first, Jamie Warren's character did piss me off. I'm not gonna lie. And I don't know what it is. But sometimes when I come across like alcoholics in books and films and TV, I'm not as sympathetic as they are maybe wanting me as a reader or viewer to be. And I don't know why it is. I'm even less sympathetic when I see people taking drugs. I'm like, seriously, what is wrong with you? But I'm not judgy as such. I just feel like what they're looking for in me, I get to eventually, but initially I'm kind of like, are you kidding me? So at first he was kind of annoying me a bit. I'm not gonna lie about that, but he sort of grew on me. And like when they started bonding and when you realize that sort of like, and obviously I've not been through anything as traumatic as what they went through as kids. You know, definitely was not a murderer. I can say that with my hands clean. I've never killed anyone that I'm aware of that you'll find the body of. But like when you start sort of like understanding more of his childhood and seeing how that kind of made him who he was, and it's just, and I'm really happy with how it ended. I'm happy with where the characters ended up. I'm happy with sort of like, I mean, I must admit there was one character whose ending I was a little bit like, oh, that's a shame. I'm not going to tell you whose character it is, but if you read the book and you agree with what I'm saying and you think you know who I'm talking about, leave it below in the comments, or leave it below in the comments on the next week's video so you're not spoiling this week's. But like it was an interesting take on a story and it definitely had me hooked. And I will admit he's a very visual author, so I could see what I was reading, which was really good. But as I said, they grew on me, liked the characters, liked the story. Enjoyed how it ended, was kind of happy with where people ended up apart from one. My bad. But yeah, so give it a go. You know, I'd never heard of him until like a couple of months ago, and then Michael's suddenly raving about him and there's several of his books now. But yeah, so give him a go and let me know what you think below in the comments. And if you've read Ronald Malfi before, and you know, let me know what your favourite Ronald Malfi book is. But thank you so much for your continued support. Remember to always keep it contented.